Happy Wednesday, Nashville. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Should be a fun show today. Titans are on the practice field for the final time ahead of their preseason finale against the Vikings on Friday. So we'll give you updates as they come from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Again, they'll be on the field in about an hour. I believe we'll hear from coordinators before practice. Cam Ward will speak after practice. We hope maybe we can bring that to you live, some of that to you live, but it may leak into Chasing Big Joe as Cam Ward usually comes on his press conference a little bit later than expected. But today, it is the final practice of the preseason for the Titans. Where do we stand on Cam Ward? We'll get into that. Also, it's week 0, so it's time to make way too early college football playoff predictions. We will do that in the 10 o'clock hour. And how many teams in the NFL are tanking for a quarterback? It seems like almost all of them. We will talk about that throughout the show today. Gentlemen, how are we? It's a Force Company reunion today.
It is.
With all of us here. And Connor in the wall of the hurricane back behind.
I'm sorry. I'll try not to talk as much as possible just because I don't want Nashville to hear this just obscene wind tunnel I'm in. But it's 81 degrees in the studio right now.
It is hot. Weston Clarksville goes, have you called Busy Bee yet? Maybe
we're getting there.
We're getting there. Honestly, in the studio, it's not that bad. Like, it's manageable in here, but for Connor out there, he's got the box fan blowing. It is hot, so we will get through it today. Excited.
Connor, what are wind speeds down on the beach?
Yeah, we got wind gusts of 50 miles an hour blowing to the left. We got rain pouring down here across the shore, and there's palm tree flying over my head.
It kind of does sound like we're going down to a live hit from a tropical storm. So
I mean, you know all about live hits when you did your sideline reporting for the Nashville Cats.
That is true, right? For the Cats down there
job
at Municipal Auditorium. It was electric in there the one time they came down to me. So should be a fun show today. Again, we'll give you updates from Titans practice as they come. The final practice of the preseason, Titans and Vikings coming up in the final week of the preseason on Friday night from Nissan Stadium. Let's get into Cam Ward here. I'm not going to, the talk of the last couple of days has been the scuffle with Jeffrey Simmons. I feel like that's blown over at this point. It's time to move on. Cam Ward has had an up and down training camp so far, and I think that's expected for a rookie quarterback. The number 1 overall pick heading into his rookie season. How do we feel after training camp, where I think you've seen the flashes that made him the number 1 overall pick, but also you've seen some of the reasons why maybe there was talk of this not being the best year to have the number 1 pick?
Yeah, for Cam Ward so far this preseason and going into the finale against Minnesota, I'd say it's been serviceable. I think he's been that serviceable quarterback the Titans need just to move the ball down the field. The offensive line has been very productive for Cam not to get touched at all in any of these preseason games. So for that to say that you have a healthy quarterback going into the season, that's a huge plus. But as for Cam Ward mechanically, from what I've seen on Connor's Twitter and Parker's Twitter and all over Titans Twitter,
you saw my Twitter?
I do. Yeah, I
That's
do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Were you one of the people that didn't like me for it?
I think it was great coverage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm the most hated man on Titans Twitter right now.
No, people just need to learn how to grow thicker skin. I don't know. But overall, like, Cam Ward looked really good in those videos. And I mean, I get it. It's practice. You're just doing whatever. But that's what you only can base your opinion off of because it's the only action they have. So overall, I think he's starting to build the chemistry with those wide receivers like Calvin Ridley. There's been talks about that, talks to Alec Iomanner. My biggest thing I'd like to see from Cam Ward is just to get that chemistry down with Tyler Lockett and Gunnar Helm. That's my biggest thing. I think Tyler Lockett is the safety net 2.0 behind Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm, obviously, everybody loves that tight end connection. But for Tyler Lockett especially, just throw between the numbers and the sideline. That's where I think Lockett has spent most of his time in the NFL. Sure, he's got a few seam routes up the middle, but that's the reason why he's been here for the longest time is because he doesn't get hurt.
He is the king of getting down before he gets hit. I would love a highlight reel of all the times Tyler Lockett just going across the middle of the field and it's like in Madden where it's like you hit the possession catch and you just dive down to the ground before you get hit. I agree with you. I think you've seen the rapport with Calvin Ridley, and that's huge because last year we were having the conversations of when are Will Levis and Calvin Ridley going to get on the same page, and it took well into the season. Ridley ended up figuring it out. I think especially after DeAndre Hopkins was gone, but it's good to see that we don't really have those issues right now, that Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley, they're on the same page. But you're right, that he can't throw to Calvin Ridley on every single play. He's got to be able to find some secondary options. Tyler Lockett and Gunnar Helm, I think, are the two guys that I'm looking at too, because Cam Ward made a living in the middle of the field during his time at Miami. Like, yeah, the balls up the sideline are great, and he made some plays off schedule rolling out of the pocket. But when he was making throws on time, it was crossing routes over the middle field, seams up the hash marks to Elijah Arroyo. That's what you need to see. And I think Helm and Lockett are going to be huge parts of Cam's development this year as those safety blankets. And maybe Chig's involved in there too. I think you'll see those two guys as a partnership at tight end to start the season. But those guys, middle of the field, the safety valves for Cam Ward, I think that's going to be important this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned those seam routes with Gunnar Helm. We saw a little glimpse of that. It was with Brandon Allen, obviously, in the Atlanta game before, halftime. But if we can see, those plays with Cam Ward, like you're talking about, I mean, I think a lot of Titans fans would just turn their heads like, we have a team. We have something to cheer for.
Right. And with Cam Ward, you're right. Like, it's just practice, but it is all we have to go on right now outside of the 5 series that he played during the preseason so far. And I do hate it, but when you're on the radio every day, it's like you got to go off what you're seeing that day. And Cam Ward has had bad days in training camp. He's had days where he's thrown multiple picks. And I think that's the one thing that's concerned me the most is that it doesn't, and I'm not out there watching, so I don't know if he's making the same mistakes leading to interceptions over and over. But there haven't been a whole lot of clean days. It feels like at least every single practice, you're seeing one tweet of, all right, Cam Ward was intercepted again, which is fine. It's practice, and we've talked about it pretty much since he got drafted of like, he's going to test the limits of what he can do. But it is about when he does hit the field in Mile High in just over 2 weeks, is he going to have learned from the mistakes that have led to him throwing, I would say, probably a dozen interceptions so far in training camp?
I mean, looking at that and hearing that, to me, I wonder if it's more experiments in practice than actual natural mistakes, is going through your true progressions. I think we've heard Callahan mention what, Cam Ward can try to get away with in practice. So for me, those are experiments when it comes to a quarterback trying to test things out. As for the interceptions, I'm with you on that. It does concern me. I think that's to be expected, right? Like I don't think we're going to see anything different in week 1 than we are seeing in the preseason. I think he's going to throw 2 picks. I think that's probably the good number for him in week 1.
It wouldn't shock me. And I know it's stupid because one debut has nothing to do with the other debut, but let's not overreact if he doesn't have a 4-touchdown game. Because again, Will Levis and Marcus Mariota both had 4 touchdowns in their debut, and it didn't work out. One has nothing to do with the other, but if he goes, let's say 15 for 28 for 175 yards and 2 interceptions against Denver, realize that it's his first real game in the NFL, and Denver has a really good defense. That's a tough place to go play, especially early in the season. Not trying to make excuses for him already, but like, one game isn't going to define Cam Ward's career, but you would like to see that he has learned from some of the mistakes that he's made so far in training camp. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I have a question for everybody out there. I wanted to, when I first was planning the show, I was going to say, let's grade Cam Ward's training camp and preseason, but I feel like that's, oh, wow. Connor Newt just putting some big news. L'Jarius Sneed is practicing today.
Oh my!
I'll get to our question about Cam Ward in a second. L'Jarius Sneed
rap sheet
is back on the practice field today, according to Ian Rappaport. Let's see. Trying to find the tweet. There you go. Big news for the Titans. Cornerback L'Jarius Sneed has passed his physical and will participate in practice in a limited capacity today. So, L'Jarius Sneed coming off the PUP list. There was the conversation with Brian Callahan yesterday of when could L'Jarius Sneed be around? He said, maybe tomorrow. But he also said, in terms of week one, we'll see. So L'Jarius Sneed is going to practice today. Big news. We will continue to talk about that. But my question about Cam Ward, instead of grading him, because it's so subjective, and a lot of it is based on what you thought of Cam Ward coming into training camp. So my question is, do you think that Cam Ward has looked better or worse or the same as you expect? Do you feel better or worse about the pick since the beginning of training camp? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Also, before we get out of this first segment, I wanted to lead the show with this. Jeff Hem came on with us yesterday. Reynel Delgado hit for the cycle last night for the Sounds.
Did he really?
Yes. So I believe Jeff said it was like the first time in 45 seasons, only the fourth time in franchise history that a cycle has been hit for the Sounds. So Reynel Delgado hit for the cycle last night. Maybe Jeff should come on the show all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just wanted to shout that out for the Sounds. Started a series over there at First Horizon Park last night against Louisville. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to chime in, we appreciate your texts and calls. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Again, my question for you: do you feel better or worse about Cam Ward than you did at the beginning of training camp? We will get to our answers coming up. And also, L'Jarius Sneed is on the practice field today as he comes off the PUP list. We will talk about that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up here on 102.5 The Game.
Kelly, what is the plan with Legarius? Is there any hope that he can start working his way, clear the physical this week, or what's the schedule looking for him?
Yeah, there's some hope that's the case. Maybe we'll see where he's at tomorrow. I think one more time, and then there's a chance that happens pretty soon. But I'm refraining from any definitive statements on it for the moment. But I'm hopeful that happens soon.
Well, Brian Callahan was hopeful that L'Jarius Sneed could come off the PUP list soon, and he did. Just announced, the Titans announcing just minutes ago, the Titans have activated cornerback L'Jarius Sneed from the team's physically unable to perform list. This move means Sneed has passed a physical, and he is able to return to practice. So, L'Jarius Sneed, the big trade from last offseason, got a high price extension, missed all but 5 games last year. He is back on the practice field today. Ian Rappaport reporting in a limited capacity. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Again, we are asking for your thoughts on Cam Ward's training camp on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Do you feel better or worse about Cam than you did at the beginning of training camp? But L'Jarius Sneed activated off the PUP list. I think it's a big deal for the Titans, not as much because I think L'Jarius Sneed is going to be a huge impact player, but he is a body in that cornerback room who you feel like can at least give you some sort of quality reps when you get to the regular season, because you don't have a ton of them in that cornerback room. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. obviously is expected to take a big step in year 2. Roger McCreary's proven himself to be a really good nickel in this league. But then you got Darrell Baker, who knows, and a bunch of young guys behind him who it's like you're hoping that they can end up being quality players, but you don't know. You need L'Jarius Sneed if that cornerback room is going to be any kind of productive this year, and we'll see how long it takes him to actually get back out for a game on the field in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see another body out there on the field. Obviously, yesterday was their last full padded practice of the preseason, so today it's probably just uppers and a helmet. So it's an easy transition for him to go from off the field to on the field. You're kind of going through walkthroughs to the most part. Like you're saying, giving your input into certain coverages, certain, I guess, situations in the game. That's primarily what he's out there for today. But yeah, if he can be a serviceable body for the next couple of weeks, I still think it'll take him till week 3 to get truly acclimated. Because if you've taken all this time off just to recover from an injury and also some other off the field issues, I don't know what type of shape you're in. Kind of with Tavondre Sweat. The guy has the tonsils taken out. You don't know what type of situation he's in. So for Sneed, just my gut feeling, pretty sure he's probably lost a little bit of some muscle mass. And I mean, sure, mentally you're probably so sharp up here. It's more about your physical attribute.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's been working on a side field, but it's hard to imagine that he is in football shape after not playing in a game or practicing since October of last year, late September when the Colts game happened. So I don't know if it's realistic to expect L'Jarius Sneed to be starting week 1, but you would hope by week 2 or week 3 that he is ready to go full speed. Maybe week 1, you could get him out there for some of the snaps, depending on how he looks over the next couple of weeks. Again, Ian Rappaport saying he's going to practice in a limited capacity. Maybe that has something to do with it's not a fully padded practice, so they're going to kind of ease him back in. You're not going to see him on Friday night, obviously, against the Vikings. I think it'll be what he does leading up to week 1. And it wouldn't shock me if it's a did not practice, limited practice on Friday, and he's listed as questionable for Sunday, and they make a game time decision. But it is good to see that at long last, L'Jarius Sneed will be back on the practice field for the first time in nearly a year. 9064 on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, knee soreness inbound. Him and Traylon made of the same brittle bones. He goes, in all caps, they need some whole milk in that locker room. Yes, it's not a bad point. I think L'Jarius Sneed, you're happy to see that he's back on the practice field, but it's also a wonder, like, all right, when's the next injury going to pop up? Because you feel like he's not going to be able to stay healthy for an entire season.
Yeah, and you made a good point earlier about, he'll probably practice throughout all the weeks and throughout, the regular season. He might be questionable going into Sunday's game, and then they'll put him in as not active. Like, I could see that being the case of a ramping up process for him, and for the Titans to kind of just keep media off their case for the most part when it comes to L'Jarius Sneed. And it's just an easy, I wouldn't say cop out, but an easy way to just kind of ease the pressure on him.
Right. And I don't think they're going to rush him back because again, I don't even know if when he comes back and he is fully healthy, do you expect him to be a top line cornerback? I think you expect him to be better than what you have behind him, but I don't know if there's any need to really rush him back when I don't know if it's really going to be more than a marginal difference than a Darrell Baker for now. And maybe once L'Jarius Sneed gets back into a rhythm, he can find some of what he had in Kansas City. I'm not saying he can never be a good cornerback again, but I would guess at least the first couple of weeks, there might be some growing pains, some speed bumps for L'Jarius Sneed as he works his way back. And, I mean, he may struggle to start off the season. You hope that eventually he can get back to being a solid corner. And if you can run out a secondary of L'Jarius Sneed, Jarvis Brownlee, Roger McCreary, Amani Hooker, and Xavier Woods. That's not a horrible five out there once L'Jarius Sneed actually starts to get back into football shape, which you would expect may take till late September, maybe early October.
Yeah, I look at the defense, especially the cornerbacks, as the quarterback of the defense. Like when you look at pay wise and all that, because this is a passing run league. I mean, it's all driven through the passing game, and if you don't have serviceable cornerbacks, you're not going to be good. And I think when it comes to the Titans, you're probably going to have your offense outscore teams because your defense can't hold up their other end of the bargain. That's simply that. To L'Jarius Sneed, like you're saying, I think weeks 3 and 4 is probably the true timetable of a fully healthy cornerback.
Right.
And if you can kind of get a little bit of production out of some of those guys like Gabe Judy Lolly, those low end tier corners, that's where you got to look at. Because if you can get those guys to work and get probably, let's see, a small fraction out of them, you might have maybe sneak out a win or two in weeks 1 and 2. Maybe.
Right. And you look at the preseason game against Atlanta on Friday, and I'm watching and I'm seeing Gabe Judy Lolly making some plays. Marcus Harris looked good. The rookie out of Cal they picked in the 6th round, but you have to take it with the caveat of it was Easton Stick and David Sills the 5th out there that were, trying to move the football, and they did move the football for a little bit there. So you take it with a grain of salt of like, all right, these guys look like they could be capable players, but what are they going to do in week 2 if it's Matthew Stafford, which who knows with Matthew Stafford? It could be Jimmy Garoppolo. If it's Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua out there, do you feel confident putting your 6th round pick out of Cal on the field and saying, go guard that guy? I don't know.
That'll be tough. I mean, Matthew Stafford's been dealing with that little back injury, so we'll see what happens with that. But hey, don't forget about Kendall Brooks, by the way. Hey, I heard that subtle, missing out on Kendall Brooks. What's going on here?
I'm not expecting Kendall Brooks to be on the 53.
Yeah, I know.
Who knows?
That's a good joke.
Maybe he could. I mean, as Brian Callahan said in his victory speech, was that the first pick 6 ever in a preseason game, or first pick 6 in a preseason game in a long time for the Titans. So, props to Kendall Brooks.
Jalen Kimber had a pick yesterday too in practice.
Yeah, I saw your tweet.
And his dad followed me on Twitter afterwards.
There you go. Yeah, Cam Ward. That was his lone pick of the day, though.
It was.
I know you said it was an up and down day for Cam Ward. He'll be out on the practice field coming up in about 30 minutes. Final preseason practice for the Titans ahead of their final preseason game on Friday night against the Minnesota Vikings. 615-737-1025. News this morning, L'Jarius Sneed is back on the practice field. He has passed his physical and been activated off the PUP list. Good news for the Titans. We'll see how quickly he is able to acclimate and get ready to go for the season, which is now just over 2 weeks away. So my question to you this morning, everybody out there, 615-737-1025. Do you feel better, worse, or the same about Cam Ward than you did at the beginning of training camp? Let us know. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll give our answers coming up next. Also, we will give our college football playoff predictions ahead of week 0 coming up in the 10 o'clock hour and much more. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on this Wednesday. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Later today on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds take on Louisville at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on this Wednesday. Titans getting ready to take the practice field for the final time ahead of their preseason finale on Friday, taking on the Vikings at Nissan Stadium. They'll be wearing the light blue jerseys. Heard Connor and Robbie get into that at the end of their show. Their new home, I guess these are their standard jerseys now. They don't wear the navies anymore. It's the Titans blue that they announced this year. So
Not going to get into it.
we won't get into that, but we'll see it on Friday night against the Vikings. My question to everybody out there: how do you feel about Cam Ward? Do you feel better than you did at the beginning of training camp? Do you feel worse than you did at the beginning of training camp? We'll get to all of your answers in a second. 615-737-1025. Nick Frazier, it's been about a month now since training camp opened. Yeah, right around a month. Do you feel better about Cam Ward, or do you feel worse about Cam Ward as we head towards the regular season?
I feel better. Like I said before, I think he's building chemistry with the wide receivers and tight ends, but primarily I think he's growing as a quarterback. The only issue I have is the way he can regress is if there's too many cooks in the kitchen. If too many people are talking to him and it just a lack of translation or a mix of translation, that's what would just deter me from saying he's growing as a quarterback. But as of right now, I think he's on the right track to be a really good quarterback for this team. I think he can. I think too about being a leader. That's something that Cam is really starting to be more comfortable with, taking initiative. And obviously the whole scuffle with Jeffrey Simmons, that goes to show that the offense has his back. He has their back. To me, that just shows true leadership. So I think he's growing as a true pro.
Connor Newt, I know you're in the wind tunnel down there, but how do you feel? Do you feel you've been out there at practice? Do you feel better or do you feel worse about Cam Ward?
I feel about the same. I think he looks the part. He looks like a first-round pick at some points, and then other times he looks bad. And I kind of expect that from a rookie quarterback. You know, he's not going to be consistent. He's not. I think we've said this before, Jake. He's not an elite prospect, in my opinion. And by elite prospect, I mean he's not.
He's not Andrew Luck.
Yeah, he's not Andrew Luck. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Trevor Lawrence coming out of college. He was the number one pick for a reason, and I think he's kind of showing you flashes of that, especially in these preseason games, but he also will make some mistakes, and that's what I expect out of a rookie quarterback. I don't know. I expect him to be a solid quarterback for them this season, so I kind of feel the same about it.
I would say I feel a little bit worse. Not a lot worse, and not like waving any red flags, but I was high on Cam Ward coming out. I mean, I like our Saturday show, I was praising the tape saying everybody who wants to trade the pick needs to shut up. We want Cam Ward here in Nashville. And I still feel good about Cam Ward's long-term future with the Titans. But I would say that it's been a little shakier than I would have expected coming in. You know, there's been some days where he's completing less than 50% of his passes in practice. And I think there's been too many interceptions. The preseason games, there's been the flashes, the great throws like we saw to Alec Imanner on the run, the Van Jefferson drop. Like there's been the flashes of that's what we saw in college, but there's also been a little too much inconsistency. I get it. He's a rookie, and I'm not saying that I have completely changed my tune on Cam Ward, but I would say I feel a little bit worse about where he is right now compared to where I expected him to be. And maybe that's my high expectations for Cam Ward, because I really did like him coming out of Miami, and I still do like him as the long-term prospect for the Titans as a franchise quarterback. But it is, I think I feel a little bit worse, just a little bit.
So if he would have had, let's say, 2 or 3 less interceptions in practice, maybe one perfect practice for you, like a clean practice.
I mean,
would you have felt a little better about that, or what?
I think if he just had more days, like we talk about stacking days, I think if he could put together a week where it's like he's taking care of the football a little bit better, and we weren't hearing about, man, all right, Cody Barton has another pick in this practice, and say, oh, he's not getting the ball out of bounds. Like I feel like there's just been a little bit more mental errors than I expected from Cam Ward. And again, I'm not worried about it. This isn't something where I'm like, man, the Titans may not have their guy. I still believe that they have their guy in Cam Ward, but I think he has a little bit more work to do than I thought. And I think maybe the first month of the season might be a little bit rough. And I think Titans fans out there need to expect that there's going to be some mistakes. And especially with the early part of that schedule with the Broncos and Rams, I think it will help him in the long run facing those teams because they are two of the best defenses in the league. But if it doesn't look perfect, I think that's just because, I mean, he is a rookie and it's his first, he's getting thrown into the fire and he's getting his feet wet. And I think he'll learn from that, but I also am not expecting him to go and light the world on fire in September. I think you just hope that the growth from September to December shows that he's on the right path for next year and years to come.
Maybe I'm just a little more, I guess, too optimistic about this. I just look at the offensive line and Cam Ward, that chemistry, especially from I've probably stressed this way too much, but the center quarterback combination. You have a guy in Corey Levin currently that is taking snaps from this offensive line. Obviously, Lloyd Cushenberry, he warmed up with the team their last, preseason game, probably is going through walkthroughs or whatever this week. But as a rookie quarterback, you have to build chemistry with both of those guys. And so the fact that you're probably transitioning from Corey Levin to Lloyd Cushenberry now, and you're just having these mistakes, I'd call that a success. I really would. There's a lot of, I guess, nuances about the game that kind of goes under the radar. And that's one of them for me, that if you don't have a good combination between your center and quarterback, nothing's really going to succeed.
I would say that the one thing that has impressed me the most in training camp is the offensive line play. I mean, Cam Ward, he's played 5 series in the preseason and hasn't really even been breathed on. Like the offensive line has done a great job protecting Cam Ward. Again, against backups. Like I said, the same thing about the young cornerbacks, and like they've looked good, but against backups. This is your first team offensive line. They're facing the 3rd and 4th edge rushers for the Falcons and Bucks and the 3rd and 4th defensive tackles. So take it with a grain of salt. But I do really like that the offensive line, you put all that investment into it, and it does seem like they look like a competent group, which is exactly what you need with a young quarterback. We saw Caleb Williams get sacked 68 times last year. Part of that's on him too. But I do like that we've seen Cam Ward hasn't been touched. That's not going to stay the same once we get to the regular season. But the last thing you want is like Anthony Richardson, free rusher off the edge, coming and lighting him up. Partially his fault for not changing the protection, but Cam Ward has not had to take a big hit yet, and that's a big deal when you get through the preseason.
Yeah, and sticking with the offensive line for a second, if I'm the Titans, and obviously I'm not a coach, but I would just stick with Cody Levin for the most part, like if you can.
Yeah.
Because Lloyd Cushenberry, like, to be honest with you, an Achilles, terrible, terrible injury. I think you just need to let him heal a little bit more. I know he's had all this time off, but just ease it a little bit. Pump the brakes. Team's not that great. Let's be honest. Overall perspective, they're not going to win Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Just take it easy. That's
kind of what we said with L'Jarius Sneed. Not that I think Sneed is part of the long-term plan for this team, but like if Sneed misses a game or two, or if Cushenberry has to miss a game or two, I feel like it's better to not risk them missing the whole season for a game against the Broncos that, to be honest, you're probably not going to win anyway.
Right.
Like going on the road, the Broncos are one of the toughest teams to beat in September because of, I mean, it's Mile High. You're maybe not full on in midseason football shape and you got to go out there and play in the thin air. It's a tough place to go win. And if Lloyd Cushenberry, if you think that you can get him to 100% ready to roll for week 2, I'm fine with Corey Levin for 1 week. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. A couple of your answers. Our question, do you feel better, worse, or the same about Cam Ward than you did at the beginning of training camp? Mike in Lebanon says, I'm not worried about Cam. I'm worried about another year with the lack of talent on the team. We still have no depth, still trying to rebuild after J-Rob decimated the team. It's fair, and that's why the team's not going to be very good this year. I don't know if you'll be able to look back if the Titans win 4 or 5 games this year and say it was Cam Ward's fault. I think it's going to be that there's no depth at corner, no depth at edge, no depth at wide receiver. And those are 3 of the most important positions in football. 0689 says, and that's Eddie in California. He says, I don't feel better. Did you see that underhand throw yesterday? I see a lot of turnovers this season. Wasn't that during like a drill? Like it wasn't
My question is, how did you see that underhanded throw? Because there's no video being put
No,
out.
I saw a video yesterday.
It was probably a pass drill.
It wasn't in like 7-on-7 or a team drill. It was literally like those drills where they hand it off, somebody tosses them a football and they roll. He went like under the legs and underhand to somebody. Like it's a drill. Like
I will say Cam was very up and down yesterday. Like he was very inaccurate from deep, but I don't know what video you're talking about.
I saw the video that he's referring to, but it was in like a casual quarterback's drill.
Like a nonchalant.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be pulling out the between the legs underhand flip in the game. And if he does, Brian Callahan should rip him off the field the second he does. So I'm not really worried about that. Brian says, in regards to Cam, I probably feel a little bit worse at this point, but it's not because of him. I just have no hope in Callahan coaching him up. I feel like he's doing more harm than good to him. And I don't know if we'll really know the impact of Brian Callahan on Cam Ward till the end of this season, or if things go south earlier, if Callahan gets let go before that. But it was a great article put out yesterday by Jeremy Fowler and Teron Davenport looking at the pitfalls that we've seen from the last couple of number one picks at quarterback. And I thought Charles Robinson made a very good point at the end of his appearance on Robbie and Rex Road today of 18 first overall pick quarterbacks, only 6 of them have stuck with their head coaches. Like that relationship has only been a success 6 times. And recently it's been pretty much none of them. Pretty much if you are the head coach of a first overall pick quarterback, pack your bags because you're not going to last very long. They gave Brian Callahan another chance, and he's going to be able to try and develop Cam Ward. But if things go south, yeah, we know who's getting blamed. It's Brian Callahan. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts, we'll continue to talk about our impressions of Cam Ward after about a month of training camp. Do we feel better? Do we feel worse? You can text us 615-737-1025. This week's Nashville's best deal is Bavarian Beer House, conveniently located at Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy beer, food, music, and fun in Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, where it's Oktoberfest every day. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
You cook some of the dough and then do the rest of it. But I landed the Innsworth gig, which was super huge. It's big, yeah.
This fall, live at the Pinnacle at Nashville Yards, Tim McGraw will perform at Trinetics Rock the Cradle. This event is sure to be a great time celebrating a great cause. Proceeds from the event will support newborns and moms at Ascension St. Thomas Midtown. Get your tickets now at rockthecradlenashville.org. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on this Wednesday morning. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. We've been asking the question, do you feel better or worse about Cam Ward than you did at the beginning of training camp? We kind of are all across the board. Nick says a little better. I say a little worse. And Connor says just about the same. Pretty much everybody on the text line is around the same. Scott from Franklin says, I won't say I feel the same regarding Cam Ward as the first overall pick, or I would say I feel about the same regarding Cam Ward as the first overall pick and as the Titans quarterback. Cautiously optimistic that he could suddenly become Jaden Daniels, but more realistic that he met a need for the Titans in a fairly weak quarterback class. Bonus comment, as a Georgia Southern alum, I'm very glad that Darrell Baker Jr. is a Titan. He may not be a starter on most NFL teams, but he's a good insurance piece that can generally hold the fort down. There you go. Georgia Southern, shout out Darrell Baker, representing, are they the Eagles out
They
there?
are the Eagles, yeah. They ran the triple option offense way back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had a coach that went to Georgia Southern. He was like left guard.
Gotcha.
Pretty good.
Is that where like Cole Swindell went? He wears the GS hat. Okay, that's what I thought.
That's right.
I always mix up Georgia Southern and Georgia State. I think Scott from Franklin makes a good point that I think everybody around the Titans fan base, it's like you have that cautious optimism just in the back of your mind of like, what if Cam Ward is Jaden Daniels? Like, what if this year is the year and Cam Ward just lights it up? He's the offensive rookie of the year, and this team is in the playoff conversation. More realistically, I think the Titans had the number one overall pick. There was one quarterback who the league deemed was worthy of the number one pick, and you took him. And this kind of gets into where I want to go in the final hour. So we'll tease it a little bit here, but it seems like it's worked out for the Titans that you got the number one pick and you got the guy you feel is your quarterback. And now the entire league needs a quarterback. And we'll go through those teams later on. The Colts are one of them. And after yesterday, when they named Daniel Jones their starter, Anthony Richardson's time in Indy likely is waning. I would say he's going to finish out the year. They're not going to trade him. They're not going to cut him. But I would guess that next year he is no longer wearing an Indianapolis Colts uniform. Begs the question, like, the Titans may be, and they may have had the number one pick last year, but are they the worst team in their division anymore? I don't know if you can say that they are. Like, the Colts roster is fine. I don't think it's the worst roster in the league, but you're running Daniel Jones out there all season. And then the Jaguars, it's like, yeah, there's the flash there. You got Travis Hunter, you got Brian Thomas Jr., Trevor Lawrence, who knows? But outside of that, is that roster that good? Is it top heavy with some of those star pieces that you look at and say, they got some really good players, but what else do they have? I'm not saying the Titans could finish second in the division, but I don't know if they're going to be in the cellar this year, despite all of the deficiencies that are currently on this team.
Yeah, you could say it could be a battle for the bottom if you want to look at it that way. I'm with you. I think the Titans are that fringe third team in the AFC South that could be teetering third or second. I just look at the Colts as kind of giving up on Anthony Richardson too soon. I really do. I think he was a young quarterback, obviously coming into the NFL. I think I heard this morning Charles Robinson said he has a problem with the cadence, getting the right cadence down. Like, by then you should have it down.
Right.
I just think that the system that Indianapolis runs is very pocket passing style, and that doesn't fit AR-15. It doesn't fit him. So I think he'd be better off in another situation, maybe out in LA in some regard for when Stafford's done. Maybe you're looking at him as a second option. I don't know. As for the Texans, I think they're obviously front runners. You go and get Jaden Higgins in the draft. That Noel kid as well.
Yeah, they have all the Iowa State receivers.
Yeah, so they've loaded up on offense. Defensively, they look pretty solid as well. And then you look at Jacksonville. You mentioned it, core pieces, but do they have enough? And I think the Titans, if you look at them and compare the Jags, I think the Titans have a little bit more of those core pieces that are well rounded. Whereas I think you see, the Jags as more of a face value of core pieces.
Matthew in Nashville makes a good point. The Jags kicker can hit 70-yard field goals. Don't forget that. Yeah, it's a good point. They get across midfield. They have a chance to put 3 points on the board. So who knows? I just don't know what this division is going to look like because, yeah, you're right. The Texans, I think it's pretty safe to say they're probably going to win the division. But are they like a world beater, Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, who are competing to go to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think they're just better than the rest. But I don't think there's any configuration of 2, 3, 4 that would shock me. I think the one that would shock me the most is if the Titans finish second. I don't know if they're good enough to be better than both the Jackson Colts. But outside of that, like there's not really anybody could finish anywhere outside of I think the Texans are going to be the winner in the division.
Yeah, I look at the Colts. I think the only thing holding them back is Daniel Jones's accuracy in the passing game.
Yeah.
If he can connect on passes, I think they would be, for me, a front runner at finishing second in the AFC South. And then it'd be a battle for the bottom between the Titans and the Jags at that point. I think that's how I see it on paper. I mean, it could be completely different. Literally, it all depends on Daniel Jones's accuracy.
Right. And we never know in the NFL. Like every year we talk about that. There's always a team that goes from worst to first in the NFL. So it's like that you really never know heading into the season. I just don't see a lot of reasons for optimism here, obviously. Jacksonville and Indianapolis. I think Jacksonville probably feels the best because it's like we do have Travis Hunter and we do feel good that our quarterback at the very least is serviceable, but who really knows what the rest of that team's going to look like? You mentioned with Anthony Richardson about it seems like it's all of the simple stuff that he's not able to grasp. It's like he can make the throws that no one else can make, but it was very apparent in that first preseason game when he got hurt that like he had no idea what to do when the Ravens sent 6. They sent 6 guys, and Charles Robinson said this on Robbie and Rex Road today of like, he had 2 options. You either let that guy come free and throw it right over his head to one of your hot routes because there were 2 guys wide open over there, or you change the protection and make sure there isn't a free rusher just coming straight at you. He did neither, and he got rocked. And that's stuff that can't happen as a third-year quarterback in this league.
You can't do that. And I was curious. I was looking up online while you were talking if Frank Reich was his head coach when they drafted him. It was Shane Steichen. So
Frank Reich was Bryce Young's head coach when they drafted him.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the Colts just have a quarterback issue in trying to fit what system they want to use. That's just their biggest issue is they have to settle on a system and then find the quarterback for it. It just seems like they have the right system they want, but they don't have the right quarterback. The timeline never lines up for them.
And we'll talk more about maybe some of the other teams that could be trying to draft a quarterback this year. Matthew in Nashville also asked, how much faith do you have in the Texans offensive line, though, for them to finish first? Mason and Tunsil are both gone. I believe 4 of their 5 guys on that offensive line, maybe even all 5 are different this year. So that is a big question too. I think the one thing we can say about the AFC South is it's going to be a bad division. It really is. Let's quickly go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey is on the line wanting to chime in. Trey, thanks for calling. What's up?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing great.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I believe that the national media pundits was actually telling the truth. And they were telling the truth 3 or 4 months before the draft when they said that Cam Ward comparable with Tyrod Taylor. Okay, granted, Tyrod Taylor has a pretty good ball. Okay, now they're trying to say that he needs work. Okay, so what is it? What are we going to get out of this guy? I'm just being, truthful and honest, just like the other Titans fans. We haven't seen anything, a flash here, flash there. I don't know what we're going to get. And what do y'all think? I hope in 10 games we're at 50%. We'll be at 50%. But I don't know what y'all think. And y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Trey. I heard that comparison too about Tyrod Taylor. And first off, no Tyrod Taylor slander here. But Tyrod was a 5th or a 6th round pick, I want to say, to the Ravens and didn't even play until his 4th or 5th year. So you can't make the comparison based on the player. I think they're talking more about the style of the way that they played. And if you remember Tyrod Taylor with the Bills, the year that they finally went back to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years or whatever it was, like that style is what they were comparing it to, of he's a mobile guy, but he's not Lamar Jackson. And he can make a lot of throws on the run, can be kind of creative with his arm angles. Like, I think that's the comparison they were making. I don't think they're saying he's going to be Tyrod Taylor, because obviously those guys are drafted with different expectations and are going to get very different opportunities in the league.
Yeah, it's hard to make that comparison. I look at another tease into the later, looking at Lenore Sellers and all those young prospects. I look at Lenore Sellers as a little bit like that, as the Lamar Jackson-esque, Russell Wilson-esque, that kind of quarterback play art. So as for Tyrod Taylor, yeah, it's hard to make that comparison.
Right. And I hate making comparisons to these young quarterbacks. It's like all the stuff came out about Steve McNair too, of like comparing the Air McNair, H-E-I-R. It's like, let's not put that pressure on him. And I agree, if you look, like, there could be some similarities to the way Steve McNair played, but Cam Ward is going to be whoever Cam Ward is going to be. You can't compare a guy to the style and expect the same exact results of their NFL career, because they're different players and they're going to get different opportunities and see different things during their NFL career. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts on the Titans, we will get more into the Titans throughout the show as they hit the practice field in the next couple minutes for the final practice before their preseason finale against the Vikings on Friday. But when we come back, it is week 0 in college football. We have real live college football just 3 days away. So naturally, we have to make way too early predictions on what's going to happen at the end of the season. Nick Frazier and I have come up with our 12 playoff teams, gone through the bracket, and we have picked a champion. We will do that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour on this Wednesday. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. The Titans are on the practice field for the third straight day at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We will bring you updates as they come. It is an unpadded practice today, or not a fully padded practice today, so maybe not quite as much to draw from practice, but we will give you updates as we get them as the Titans prepare for their final preseason game on Friday against the Minnesota Vikings. I do want to mention Teron Davenport was unable to make it yesterday due to practice, also today. He is coming tomorrow. So we'll have TD for all 3 hours on the program tomorrow from 9 to noon. Excited to talk to Teron about what has been a very interesting week of practice for the Tennessee Titans. But it is also a very important week because college football is back. It may only be week 0, but we have real live college football coming up on Saturday. Farmageddon in Dublin with Kansas State and Iowa State, a top 25 matchup in the Big 12. So before the first snap is played in college football, it's time to pick who's going to win the championship. 12-team playoff. This time, no reseeding due to champions, so they seed them 1 through 12. Nick Frazier and I, we had the warning last night to do this. Connor was just alerted a couple of minutes ago to do this. So if Connor has one ready, we'll let him go last here.
I'm ready, pal.
Oh, you're ready? All right.
Yeah.
Then let's go through this. Who is everybody's top overall team?
I have Texas.
Oh,
as my
okay.
top
So you've
overall
got
team.
the preseason number 1.
Yes.
And I assume they're your SEC champion.
That is correct.
Okay. I'm going SEC at number 1. I'm going Georgia as my number 1 overall seed.
Really?
Yeah.
I have Texas as well.
You
at
okay?
number
So
1.
both of you guys loving the art show. All right. So Texas, number 1 for both of you guys. Number 2, I'm going Big Ten champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I believe the Buckeyes beat Texas in week 1.
I do too. I have the Buckeyes.
You
at
got
numero
okay.
dos.
You got the Buckeyes.
I don't. I think the Buckeyes lose in week 1.
Really? Okay. Well, I mean that's not who do you got at number 2?
Number 2, I have Georgia.
Okay. So you got SEC 1 and 2. So maybe a close SEC championship
Yes,
game between
that's exactly
those two.
what I envisioned.
All right. Number 3. I'm sticking with the champions. I'm going ACC champion, the Clemson Tigers.
Look at you. You and me are just on another level right
There we
now.
go. You
I
got
have Clemson
Clemson?
at number 3 as well.
I have Oregon.
Okay.
at 3. Yeah.
Oregon. No Dylan Gabriel, but
I still
no
think
problem.
they can bounce back. Yeah. They'll be fine. Save the Ducks.
All right. Who's got your guys' last bye? Nick,
I have Ohio State.
you have Ohio State.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State. 2 from the SEC, 2 from the Big Ten going to get buys. Nick?
I have the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame at number 4.
We're locked in. I got Notre Dame too as an at-large at number 4, getting the final bye. All right, so I like it. We got a little bit of difference. Connor doesn't have Georgia getting a bye. I don't have Texas getting a bye. I do have Texas as the number 5 team in the land. I believe they will be the team that just misses out on a bye, and for the second straight year, the Longhorns are the 5 seed.
Okay. Well, I have Penn State.
Penn
as
State?
my outside looking in.
All right, Connor.
I have Alabama looking out, or on the outside looking in
All right,
at number 5.
Alabama gets back in the playoff after a year off. If they're number 5, Kalen DeBoer did well this year, and so did Ty Simpson.
Probably,
So
11-1,
right.
10-2 maybe.
I would think that they're okay with that. All right, number 6. Maybe this might be higher than you guys have this team. I got LSU. Go Tigers at number 6.
Wow.
Believes in BK, baby.
I don't love Brian Kelly. I think Garrett Nussmeier might be the best quarterback in the SEC. He's a first-team All-SEC by the coaches this week. I believe in that. LSU's always got talent at the skill positions. Give me the LSU Fighting Tigers at number 6.
That's wow. I have Clemson at 6.
Okay, so you're going the other Tigers.
I'm going the other Tigers.
Matched up in week 1, by the way.
Yep.
That is going to be an awesome game in prime time week 1. Connor, who's at number 6?
Do you want to say it with me, Frazier? Save them
Ducks.
Ducks. I got Oregon at number 6.
All right. I have Oregon at number 7. So we all have Oregon in the top 7, despite maybe some question marks at quarterback. Is it Dante Moore going to be their quarterback?
Yes.
Okay. Also, quick tangent: the guy who Jaron, what's his name, the 5-star freshman who went to Oregon, was annoyed that he wasn't getting reps while Oregon was preparing for a playoff game and transferred to Cal. He will be Cal's starting quarterback. So anyway,
Good to know.
who do you have at number 7?
7, I have Notre Dame.
Okay.
I think Notre Dame has a good season, but not great, and so they'll be on the outside.
So we're all kind of in the same realm here. Who do you have at number 7?
I have another team we've already mentioned, Georgia.
Okay.
At number 7.
So Georgia, we're a little higher on Georgia and Gunnar Stockton. Connor a little bit lower. At number 8, another team we've already heard from. I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide.
As do I.
All right, there we go.
Same page.
All right. Well, I'll go different then. At number 8, I have the Big 12 champion,
Oh,
the Kansas State Wildcats.
wow. So you think Kansas State goes from Farmageddon to the playoff this year?
I can see it, man. The Big
like
12
it.
is so wide open. There's a multitude of teams you could take.
I agree.
I like Kansas State.
My Big 12 champion is coming up. All right, you guys ready for a shocker here? At number 9, with Nashville's own Marcel Reed at quarterback, the Texas A&M Aggies. I have them as the number 9 team in the country.
I love that. I'm same right there.
You
with
got over it.
I do
All
have
right,
number 9.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I have We Are Penn State.
Okay, Penn State, James Franklin starting the season as the number 2 team in the country. Connor has them at number 9. At number 10, I have my Big 12 champion, the team with all the oil money in the world, the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Coach Frazier.
I'm thinking Texas Tech ends up winning the Big 12. It's wide open, and I like the Red Raiders.
At number 10, I have SMU. I think the Ponies
Okay.
come back to their possible playoff bound.
All right,
Era for them.
back-to-back playoffs for the SMU Pony Express. Who you got? Number 10.
Go Tigers. LSU.
LSU. Okay, so LSU in both of mine. You haven't gotten to LSU. At number 11, I have an at-large team out of the Big 10, Illinois. The Fighting Illini. They're starting at number 12 in the country. I think they have a good year. I looked at their schedule. Really only have one tough game against Ohio State. No ranked teams on their schedule outside of maybe Indiana. So I think Illinois goes 11-1. They kind of go the Indiana route of last year where it's like they didn't really play anybody, but they only lost one game to Ohio State, who I've got at number 2. I think the Fighting Illini get in.
Okay. This is where I have LSU. I'm going with the Tigers. I think they sneak into the top 12. I'm not as high as a lot of other people are on Garrett Nussmeier, but we'll see.
Hey, if Brian Kelly wants to get into, if he wants to keep his job, he's got to get into the playoff. Connor, number 11.
Number 11, I have an at-large team out of the SEC. If I had a white towel, I'd wave it in the air right now. Give me Lenora Sellers.
Wow,
and
South
the
Carolina,
Gamecocks.
Shane Beamer into the playoff. So we all haven't gotten to our Group of 5 champion. I will mention, I left Penn State out.
Whoa.
I think James Franklin and Penn State are a little overrated. I think they go 9-3, and I think they miss out. I think they are the first team out in this playoff. So no Penn State for me. Did you guys have any notable omissions? I'm trying to look through. Did you have Notre Dame in?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. South Carolina was my first team out.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. Who do we have as our Group of 5 champion taking the 12 seed? I am going with Dan Mullen and UNLV.
Oh.
I
think the running Rebels get in this year.
Such a smart pick. I'm right there.
You're with
it.
me?
Yeah.
UNLV?
I can't doubt Dan Mullen. I've seen his wonderful job he did with Mississippi State. Went to Florida, didn't work out so well, but this is UNLV. He can coast into the playoff that way.
Connor Newt?
I am going with a team from the American Conference, coached by Kentucky alumni John Sumrall. Roll, Green Wave, roll.
I was between UNLV and Tulane for that spot. All right, so we've got our 12-team brackets. We can recap them when we come back, and we're going to go through round by round and see who is the champion in 2025.
I have an idea.
I guess it would be 20. What do you got?
Throw it in Chat GPT, see what it says.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that too. You know what? So we'll give ours in the next segment, and then in the third segment of the hour, we will give the Chat GPT prediction for the 2026 college football playoff champion. I'd like you to keep tuning in, but these are spoilers. This is what's going to happen in 2025. We got the script from college football, and we will give you the playoff results coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on this Wednesday. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Be a hero and save a life today at the 12th annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive. The drive will be held at Brentwood Concord Road Library today, now until 6 p.m. 102.5 The Game will be on hand from noon to 2 with swag to give away and chance to win free concert tickets. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. We're spending this hour previewing the college football season, making our predictions for the college football playoff bracket and who ends up winning. We also have decided we're going to do a chat GPT, an AI prediction, and I've got it here. It's a very interesting one. We'll get to that in the next segment, but let's go through our brackets here. We went through, let's quickly recap the teams. I have Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame getting buys, then Texas, LSU, Oregon, Alabama. They will host campus site games. Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Illinois, UNLV round out my top 12. Nick Frazier?
Texas, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State is my top 4. And then 5 through, I guess, 7, 8 is Penn State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama. And then wrap it all up, A&M, SMU, LSU, and UNLV.
I left out Penn State. Nick's first team out was South Carolina.
Yep.
Connor, who are your top 12?
My top 12 are number 1, Texas, number 2, Ohio State, number 3, Clemson, number 4, Notre Dame, number 5, Alabama, Oregon at 6, Georgia at 7, Kansas State at 8, Penn State at 9, LSU 10, South Carolina 11, and Tulane 12.
All right, time to go through the brackets here. I will go through mine. I'll go through it in its entirety and get to a champion. We'll go one at a time here. So in my first round, I've got Texas blowing out UNLV. Feel like that's pretty easy. Running Rebels go to Austin, and Arch Manning gets that win pretty handily, I'd say by 2 or 3 scores. LSU, Illinois, the Fighting Tigers get the win there. Garrett Nussmeier, I'll say this will be a closer one, but I think LSU gets the win. I think Oregon beats Texas Tech. So Oregon, after going one and done, is the number 1 seed last year in the first 12-team playoff. They get the win, they move on. And I have Texas A&M squeaking out a win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa to move on to round 2. In the second round, Georgia beats Texas A&M. I think that one's pretty handily. A&M gets the upset win over Alabama, but they lose to the number 1 seeded Bulldogs. I got some upsets here, though. Last year, Ohio State boat raced Oregon in the Rose Bowl. This year, Oregon gets revenge. They beat the defending national champion Buckeyes. Oregon moves on to the college football playoff semifinals as the 7 seed. Also, Clemson beat LSU in week 1 in my world that we're living in. This time, LSU gets the win. Garrett Nussmeier outduels Cade Klubnik. Number 6 seed LSU moves on to the semifinals. And finally, Notre Dame beats Texas in the final quarterfinal matchup. So the 4th-seeded Fighting Irish move on. So we got Georgia, Notre Dame, LSU, Oregon in the semis. I've got Georgia beating Notre Dame, and I've got LSU beating Oregon, leading to an all-SEC national championship. And your national champion, the Georgia Bulldogs. I believe Kirby Smart gets it done.
Chalk.
You know, they were my 1 seed. They're not the number 1 team in the country as at the start of the season. I think Georgia beats LSU in the national championship game. Nick Frazier?
Yes, my first round matchups I have at 5 would be Penn State versus UNLV. I have an upset. I have
you have UNLV.
I have UNLV beating Penn State in the first round. It's pretty crazy, I know, but I'm with you on the whole Penn State might be overrated. I just think they're going to be top 5 team, and they'll just blow it.
In me and Nick Frazier's world, James Franklin gets fired in both of those, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that as well. Clemson would be the next game going up against LSU. I think it's going to be tough for LSU to beat Clemson. I'm going to go Clemson. It's kind of chalk for the most part with that. And then next would be Notre Dame. Notre Dame taking on SMU. Notre Dame, I think, take care of business.
You don't got your ponies moving on?
Nah. I don't think Rhett Lashley has this team fully ready to go when it comes to a playoff like that. Next round, I think it's the best way to put it. It's UNLV's Cinderella goes away. They're just done after that point. Let's see here. Did not add that in there. Oh, almost forgot about A&M and Alabama. I'm going to go A&M taking on Alabama over the top there, 28-21.
So we both have the Aggies going into Tuscaloosa and getting the win. All right, on to the quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals, it'd be Texas versus A&M. So you have your big rivalry there. Oh, man. How about that?
That state might burn down.
Yeah, I'm going to go Texas. Stay chalk on that one. The next would be Georgia versus Notre Dame. Again, probably chalk on that as well. Next would be Oregon versus UNLV. Chalk as well. Oregon, I think, just takes care of business in that one. 4 versus a 5, that'd be Ohio State versus, I believe, it'd be – I'm sorry, no, it'd be
UNLV.
UNLV, yeah. So I'd take that out to the cleaners. So
Yeah,
excuse me with that.
UNLV's Cinderella run.
It would have been
comes to
Oregon
an end.
versus Clemson. Excuse me.
Right.
Yeah, I got that all mixed up there. But yeah, that's what I have there. As for my semifinals at that point, it'd be 1 versus
4, 5.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be Ohio State. I'm gonna take Ohio State to beat Texas,
Wow.
and then I'm gonna go Oregon to beat Georgia.
Okay. So you got Oregon, Ohio State, all Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Ducks.
Who gets it done?
The Oregon Ducks.
The Oregon Ducks. Dan Lanning takes home the national title in Nick
Coach
Frazier's
Newt
store.
It's
doesn't
kind of
lose.
hard to follow my bracket when it's not fully in the bracket, so I'm trying to add it all together. So yeah. Sorry.
So I've got an all SEC title game with Georgia and LSU. I've got Georgia taking it home. Nick says that the Big Ten gets its 3rd different champion in 3 years.
Yep.
Michigan, Ohio State, now Oregon beating Ohio State in the championship. Connor Newt, take us through your bracket.
All right, let's see if I can pull this together in a matter of minutes. As
I
you
gotta
had
say,
way more time to prepare
Yes,
than I did.
I made mine last night. So
Okay. Our first round game in Tuscaloosa, Alabama takes on the 12 seed Tulane. Alabama's going to prevail pretty easily. Sorry, Tulane. John Summerall decides it's time to move on and comes to Kentucky.
there you go.
Our second first round matchup takes place in Eugene as number 6 Oregon takes on number 11 South Carolina. Lenora Sellers and the Gamecocks prevail. Our third matchup is an all SEC clash in Athens, Georgia, as the number 7 Bulldogs and the number 10 LSU Tigers take on each other. LSU upsets the Bulldogs.
Wow.
Thanks to Garrett Nussmeier. And our fourth matchup of the first round, Kansas State, the 8 seed, and Penn State, the 9 seed. Avery Williamson and company get it done over James Franklin.
James Franklin doesn't reach the quarterfinals in any of our predictions. Might be the end of the line for James Franklin and Happy Valley. On to the quarterfinals, Connor.
The quarterfinals, our first round matchup in the Cotton Bowl, apparently. I'm kind of using ChatGPT, but also
There
not.
you go.
Texas will take on Kansas State, and it's the end of the line for the Wildcats. Texas's roster is too strong to prevail. They advance to the semifinals. In the Fiesta Bowl, it's Ohio State and LSU. Again, Ohio State, just a much better roster. They prevail over the Tigers to move to the semifinals. In our third game of the quarterfinals, it is a rivalry game in the Orange Bowl. It seems Clemson and South Carolina.
Wow. In-state rivalry.
In-state rivals. And I'm sorry, there's an ad playing. I got to turn this down. Clemson, again, their roster, too strong to prevail. It's the end of the line for Lenora Sellers, but a great run from the Gamecocks. And our final game is Notre Dame and Alabama. It's the Crimson Tide advancing past the Fighting Irish.
Wow. So does that mean, so you got Texas, Ohio State, right? In the, or no?
It would be Texas, Alabama,
Wow.
and then Ohio State, Clemson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some big games. Who you got in the semis?
In the first matchup, it would be Texas and Alabama. Alabama upsets the Longhorns.
Kalen DeBoer to the national championship.
And of course, our second game would be Ohio State, Clemson. Cade Klubnik and company get it done over the Buckeyes.
So we get a renewal of the rivalry of the 2010s, Alabama-Clemson in the national championship game.
And of course, our national championship. The ACC prevails as
Wow.
Dabo Sweeney and the Clemson Tigers reign supreme.
So we are all over the map. I've got SEC Georgia winning over an SEC team. Nick
Big
has
Ten.
Big Ten all the way. He's got Oregon over Ohio State. And Connor going Clemson over Alabama in the national championship game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts, whose bracket do you think is the closest to what ends up working out throughout the season? Again, it's pre-week 0. We got to get our predictions in now before the first snap on Saturday morning on who's going to win the national championship. Let us know. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Adam in Portland says, I believe this is directed at you, Nick Frazier. Remember that time the Oregon Ducks won the national championship? Me neither, because it's never happened and never will happen. Preseason sweethearts every year, basically the Dallas Cowboys. So
You never know, Adam. I think the Ducks have it this year. I really do.
it's got to happen at some point, right? They've been good enough for so long, and you got to beat down the door at some point.
You got to rewrite history.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, so there are our predictions. I've got Georgia over LSU in the title game. Nick has Oregon over Ohio State. Connor has Clemson over Alabama. What does AI think? Because that's what's most important these days.
Yeah.
We'll find out next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on this Wednesday. Titans out on the practice field at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We will continue to update you if anything notable comes out of practice today. And not a fully padded practice. Really just getting tuned up for the final preseason game on Friday night at Nissan Stadium against the Minnesota Vikings. But should get some updates within the next hour. We will give those to you as they come in. Right now, we are giving our college football playoff predictions before the season, getting these locked in before a single snap is played. That way, we can look back at these or not look back at these if they're completely wrong. I have Georgia beating LSU in the championship game. Connor has Clemson beating Alabama. Nick has Oregon beating Ohio State. Adam in Portland says Connor is the closest. He says, I actually think Clemson and Alabama will be good this year. Lean more towards Bama. Jake taking Georgia scares me. They could go undefeated or miss the playoffs altogether. Adam says Bama may beat everybody by 40. After losing to Vandy, no one in that state has slept through the night since. I bet they come out mad.
Thank you, Adam.
So
I like being right.
That's I don't mind Alabama this year. I had them in the playoffs. So Matthew in Nashville asks, is there a sleeper team that the three of you wanted to include in your brackets but didn't? I think Florida was the one for me.
Mine was either Florida or Michigan.
Yeah, I could see that with like Bryce Underwood, maybe as a freshman has a huge year. I think for me it was Florida. It's like I want to believe that DJ Lagway is enough to pull Billy Napier out of the dirt, but like that schedule's so hard that I had trouble putting them in. But Florida would be the one for me.
Yeah, maybe Tennessee. Just put a homer pick out there, but because you don't know what you're going to get with Tennessee. I honestly think it's going to be a 2-quarterback set this year.
Yeah.
I've talked to some people, not like Tennessee people, but like just people from the inside, whatever. They're saying 2-quarterback set might be the way to go this year.
The other one that I was kind of looking at is Louisville. Like, if there's a team in the ACC that could be a little bit of a sleeper.
Stop talking. Nope.
I think it could be them. I know Connor's not happy about that. But, like, if you wanted, like, a deep sleeper out of the ACC, like a borderline top 25 team, that's the team I was maybe taking a look at. So we've given our predictions, but what really matters is what AI thinks. And so I plugged into ChatGPT. I asked, simulate the 2025 college football season, give me the 12 playoff teams, and go through the bracket to select a champion. So here are the 12 playoff teams that ChatGPT has selected. It's very funny because I had Penn State missing the playoffs entirely.
I thought you were putting these teams that you picked.
Oh, no, I'm asking Chat to come up with the whole thing.
Oh,
so
okay.
They have Penn State as the number 1 overall seed, Texas number 2, Clemson number 3, Ohio State number 4. So pretty similar to the preseason rankings there. They have Notre Dame 5, Georgia 6, Alabama 7, Indiana at 8. ChatGPT's big on Kurt Signetti continuing his success. LSU 9, Arizona State 10. Now, it's funny. None of us picked Arizona State as our Big 12 champion, even though they are the highest ranked team. They got Sam Levitt coming back. I'm not a huge fan. Oregon 11 and Boise State is number 12. They go through the bracket. In the first round, Notre Dame beats Boise State, Georgia beats Oregon, Alabama beats LSU, Clemson beats Indiana. They go full chalk. All of the home teams for the campus sites win. In the quarterfinals, the number 8 Clemson Tigers upset number 1 Penn State. So all three of us and ChatGPT think Penn State doesn't win their first game in the playoffs or make it at all. So not a whole lot of faith in James Franklin, although ChatGPT does have them as the number 1 overall seed. Number 2, Texas. Number 7, Alabama. Texas gets the win. ChatGPT quotes home field atmosphere, even though this game's not being played on a home site. But anyway, Clemson and Georgia. Oh, wait. I love this from ChatGPT. It goes, Clemson, Georgia. Wait, Clemson already faces Penn State. Let's correct the bracket. Actually, based on proper seeding and pairing, Texas would face the winner of Alabama. I don't know why they had to mess this up. They have Clemson winning, basically. So it has Clemson beating Penn State and Clemson beating Georgia somehow. Anyway, they have Ohio State beating Notre Dame. So the semifinals, somehow Penn State, after losing to Clemson, also advances to the semifinals. They lose to Ohio State in the semis. So Penn State, according to ChatGPT, becomes the first team ever to lose twice in one college football playoff. They have Clemson beating Texas, and then Clemson beats Ohio State to win the national championship. So Connor and ChatGPT are both in on Clemson in whatever the hell that was from ChatGPT.
Run down the hill, baby.
I mean, usually AI is pretty good, but like it had to correct itself midway through, and it was still wrong even when it tried to correct itself. So I don't.
Sounds like James Franklin interfered somehow. I
Yeah,
don't know.
somehow Penn State was was the one seed. They lost twice in the college football playoff. Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I like ChatGPT. I think it does a good job for what you need it to do. And it's funny, like if you ask it to make an image, it's almost like it pulls it out of your head of what you were looking for. But clearly it did not have a great idea of what the college football playoff looks like.
I guess it's just going to be that difficult this year for college football. I don't know. But like you said, 2 losses. James Franklin had something to do with it. That's ChatGPT for you.
I mean, man, just piling on Penn State. Thankfully, I don't think there's a ton of Penn State listeners in our area who are going to be listening, but man, I have them missing the playoffs. You both have them getting upset in the first round, won by UNLV. And then ChatGPT says, yeah, you're going to be the number 1 seed, but big game James Franklin not only going to lose once in the playoffs, he's going to come back and he's going to lose again. So anyway, those are our predictions for the 12-team college football playoff in 2025. If you have thoughts, let us know. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have predictions, now's the time to get them in because we are 3 days away from the official start of the college football season. Even though it's just week 0, we are about to get ready for college football. Dustin from Hopkinsville says Lagway is winning them 85% or more of games for Florida. Wish we are drafting a quarterback this next draft. Sellers or Lagway, sure bet. DJ Lagway is a true sophomore. DJ cannot come out this year. So maybe it's 2027 that you would want to have the pick. But yes, Lenore Sellers definitely in that conversation. And we will have a conversation about some of the young quarterbacks who could be coming out and the way the NFL is preparing for them. Because I just think it's interesting. You look around the league, there's a lot of quarterback uncertainty. And we will talk about that coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. Matthew in Nashville says, Ohio State is my pick. Almost picked Georgia, but half their team will get arrested driving to the national championship game. I mean, all it would take is 1 year where we don't hear anything about vehicular related issues with Georgia, but it just doesn't go away. It really doesn't. We hear about it all the time. Kirby Smart, I get it. I mean, my favorite meme from when the college football video game came out last year was somebody said, just started my dynasty at Georgia. Haven't even been able to play a game yet because I've been bailing my players out of jail. Hopefully this goes away. I hate that is a stain on that program. And you would hope it's just a few bad apples that came there at the same time. But it's like, man, start to wonder.
How about we just, have everybody carpool or just hire a bus driver?
That's true. Can Kirby Smart start a shuttle service, please?
Yeah.
As long as they're not Georgia alums, we'll be fine.
Right. Yeah. Go get some Georgia Tech alums to come over to Athens. And,
that'll go well.
And they can be your shuttle service.
Just shuttle at 3:00 every day before practice. Everybody gets on the shuttle. We're there at practice. Don't worry about it.
In full pads, no air conditioning.
Exactly.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you have any playoff predictions, we'd love to hear them. Get them in now, 615-737-1025. Here's how you know college football is back. Here's my next liner. Tune into 1025 The Game this Saturday at 11 a.m. for our college football game of the week, Iowa State versus Kansas State, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circus Sportsbook. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. When we come back, me and Parker Kelly had this conversation earlier in the week, but the Big Ten, there's no shortage of bad ideas over there from Tony Petitti. And the latest one is a doozy. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Finishing up the second hour on this Wednesday, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton. Titans are on the practice field as they prepare for their preseason finale against the Vikings coming up on Friday night at Nissan Stadium. We will give you updates on Titans practice in the next hour as they come in. And also Cam Ward, the schedule says approximately 11:50 a.m. is when Cam Ward is expected to step to the podium. I would guess that he probably won't be up there by the time we're off the air, but if he is, we will try to bring some of that to you before we get out of here and hand it over to Chase and Big Joe. But wrapping up our conversation on the college football playoff, we all just made our predictions, including ChatGPT. I have Georgia winning the national championship. Nick has Oregon. Connor and ChatGPT both have Clemson. But this week, the Big Ten decided to continue to try and change what's already a good product. Like, I think everybody's kind of agreed, like, there was some hesitance from me and from others of moving from 4 to 12, but after seeing the 12, I like the 12-team playoff. They're already trying to expand to 16. The Big Ten this week said, if we're going to 16, why not go to 28? And it may be the worst idea I've ever heard. Like, I'm sorry, the 7th best SEC team and the 5th best Big 12 team don't need to be in every single year. Like, it makes no sense. Sure, there might be some years in a 16-team playoff where there are 7 SEC teams that are good enough to make it. And that's why you have the at-large bids. But on any given year, the 7th best team in any power conference doesn't deserve a chance to go play for a national championship.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the whole expansion of the playoff for me, it's more about the money, like the TV deals.
It always is.
Yeah, and when you look at it that way, you're thinking the product's only going to get diluted. You're only going to dilute the product. I mean, like you said, the whole 7th best SEC team, for me, it'd be like UNC versus, I don't know, Alabama, let's say for an example. That'll be cool for the first year. After year 3, I'm done with it.
Right. I think it would be the novelty of it would be cool of like, oh, we're seeing all these different teams that never would have had a chance playing it. But then by, year two or three, when the newness, the shine wears off of this big idea, it's like, all right, man, do we really have to watch Syracuse get blown out by Georgia in the first round every single year? Like, it's going to lead to bad football. And it does take away from the meaning, the I'm blanking on the word here, like how meaningful the regular season is.
The purpose for it. Yeah.
Right. Like Alabama in a 28-team playoff, all they would really have to do is go like 8-4, and they're in every single year. I was looking at the FCS bracket. North Dakota State is kind of the Alabama, the superpower of the FCS. Yep. They've made the playoff 15 straight years, and I believe they've been in the championship 10 out of those. And I understand the gap is probably wider, but it's like the best teams aren't going to have to worry about the regular season because for Georgia, what are the odds that they aren't one of the 7 best teams in the SEC? Maybe there's a stray year here and there where an injury happens or something goes wrong and you end up on the outside looking in. But you could say 18 out of every 20 years, Georgia and Alabama are going to be in the playoffs if you go to 28 teams. They're already probably going to be in there when we're at 12.
Yeah, and I get everybody loves the whole March Madness aspect to all this. That's why we have March Madness. That's what it's there for 70-plus teams, 60-plus teams to enjoy the aspect of a 15 upsetting, a top 3, top 4 seed. I mean, you're going to get that. Whereas for college football, it's a little different. The product is different. You want to make sure you have good football teams on the field like you're talking about. I love how the FCS does their playoff. They've been doing it for a while now. It's a good product. You have really good teams. Some not so much. But as for the FBS with the college football playoff, you need to just make sure it stays at 12. Yeah, because your product is going to be diluted. You're not going to get the same. I mean, you're still going to get viewership, but you're not going to get the same as what you thought you would.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you make a good point about basketball. And I hate that I forget who texted it in when I talked about this on Monday, is that in basketball, an individual can decide a game. Like UMBC versus Virginia, like UMBC got hot at the right time and they blew out Virginia as the 16 seed versus the 1. in a football game, like Alabama's offensive and defensive linemen are just that much better than whoever it would be. If Syracuse is what you want to use, or Iowa, or whoever it is, it's like that is going to make it very difficult, even if your quarterback for Iowa has an unbelievable day. Just the battle in the trenches is going to make it so hard for you to compete in that game. And those teams, the gap is so much wider in football than it is in basketball. So it makes sense to have 68 teams in basketball, because on any given day, one basketball team can beat the other, even if 99 times out of 100, a 1 seed beats a 16 seed. In football, the game's not played the same way.
No.
The 28th best team is never going to beat the 6th best team.
No. And I think we alluded to it a little bit, and you did more than I, but that Cinderella team, when you look at basketball, it's almost like the playoff wants to have that Cinderella team every single year. Like, for me, I think Arizona State last year would be the Cinderella team. Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
I think that's
they almost made it to the semifinals.
Right. And that's what the college football playoff wants. They want that one Cinderella team every single year. And it's not the format. It's the selection committee. Like, it's right there in front of you. It's not the format. It's the committee that selects the team. That's just me.
College football is not built for Cinderellas. There are haves and have-nots more than any other sport. And it's just, it's tough to have this, rags to riches story of this team that sneaks in. Like Indiana, the best that you're going to get for a Cinderella is a team that makes it that isn't supposed to. And maybe they win a game.
Right.
But to go win a national championship as a school like in Indiana or in Arizona State, it doesn't seem feasible. So what's the point of inviting 28 teams? 9680 with a thought here. If you make it 24 28 teams, they should invite every conference champion over the 7th place SEC team. All other divisions of football and every other sport has it where every conference has a slot. And that's what I'm saying, is that football is different because the gap is so much wider. Imagine the MAC champion lining up against the SEC champion. That is, it's hilarious to think of, like Bowling Green going out there to face Georgia in a playoff game. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
It really wouldn't. And also, kind of add on to the point I was making about with the committee, you look at teams like Lenore Sellers in South Carolina. That could be a dark horse Cinderella team that's a Power 5 team, right? But if you look at UNLV, that's that group of 5 team that gets that auto bid as that last seed. That might get stale after a while. So you're always going to have, and that's why I think it relies more on the committee than the format. You're always going to have that one Power 5 team that's going to be your Cinderella. And it's going to come down to the committee. It's not going to come down to whatever seed, how they finish. It's solely off opinion.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. The college football season is 3 days away. I know it's just week 0, but we're so starved for real football. Farmageddon is going to feel like the Super Bowl at 11 a.m. on Saturday. We cannot wait. We made our predictions for the college football playoff. I've got Georgia winning it. Nick's got Oregon. Connor and the AI are robot overlords. They have Clemson too. So
maybe I'll be in their favor when they take over.
Right.
I'll be their king.
When they take over, you can.
Me and Ultron, baby.
Yes. Connor will be the king of the robots because they both picked Clemson. Coming up next, I had a thought about this upcoming quarterback class in the 2026 NFL draft, because right now there isn't a clear-cut number 1 overall pick, but there's a lot of guys in that conversation. And I'm looking around the league. There are a ton of teams that might need a quarterback. Could that set the Titans up to take advantage of the fact that they already took theirs? We will talk about that coming up next and continue to give you updates from Titans practice as they are over there at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park getting ready for their final preseason game against the Vikings. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on this Wednesday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour, next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you on this Wednesday. Titans on the practice field out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Last of 3 straight days of practice leading up to Friday's preseason finale against the Vikings. We will have updates as they come in. We are monitoring X to see if there's anything new out of there. I did see that Bones Fossil said he has no concerns about Johnny Hecker heading into the regular season. So good to hear. I think as a veteran like that, you don't worry, but it hasn't looked great for Johnny Hecker. But we'll continue to give you updates from there. I wanted to talk about the quarterback situation around the league because after the Colts yesterday announced that Daniel Jones, a guy who can only be thought of as a bridge quarterback, is going to be their starter, and Shane Steichen minced no words when he said, this isn't for a game. This isn't for a month. This is for the full year. We are committing to Daniel Jones. The Browns have an absolute mess of a quarterback room with 80-year-old Joe Flacco as their starting quarterback. You pick 2 rookie quarterbacks, and you've got Kenny Pickett, who I think everybody knows he's no more than a backup. You've got the Saints, who are running out Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. There are a lot of teams tanking for a quarterback this year is the point I'm trying to get to, is like these teams aren't going to say it. And obviously the Colts, I think, for their head coach, Shane Steichen, for Chris Ballard, his GM, they need to win games, and they know Daniel Jones is the way to do that. But there's no long-term plan at quarterback there. The Saints and Browns clearly have no long-term plan at quarterback. And there really isn't a bona fide number one, quote-unquote, generational talent at quarterback. There are a lot of options, though. Arch Manning, who may or may not come out. Archie says he's not going to come out. Arch said, maybe he would. You got Garrett Nussmeier, who could have come out last year, decided to go back to LSU, widely regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. Lenoris Sellers has a ton of raw potential and upside. Drew Aller has been talked about out of Penn State in this conversation. Could this be a huge advantage for the Titans, who we all kind of agree they're not going to be very good this year? Let's say they end up with a top 4 or 5 pick, and this draft ends up being like last year's draft, where there are 5, 6 quarterbacks who are all kind of regarded as first-round guys, where the Titans, you've already got Cam Ward. And you may know more, you may know about the same about Cam Ward as you do right now of, is he the franchise guy? He's going to get a second year. Could you parlay the need for quarterbacks across the league and the wide range of seemingly similar quarterback prospects to get yourself a huge haul and jumpstart this rebuild next year?
Man, if you could do that, you got to do it quick right after the season, because there are going to be teams that fall in love with the prospect immediately, like Arch Manning. Oh, we want him. Boom. There you go. Take that. Take a first round pick. You give us something in return. Be great.
I'm feeling like this could be like the 2021 draft where it was Trevor Lawrence was the guy, but then you had this mix of Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and Mac Jones. And it's like the Dolphins, who already had just taken Tua last year, and they thought he was their franchise guy. Titans are going to be in a similar spot next year. You trade and get a haul from the 49ers of 3 first-round picks. Like, that is what you need if you're the Titans this year. And I think we all agree they're probably going to be picking in the top 10. Those 3 teams I mentioned, the Saints, Colts, and Browns, I think are the obvious ones. But think of how many other teams could be looking for a quarterback. Are the Jets committed to Justin Fields long-term? No. Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone after this year. Yep. Steelers could be looking. The Dolphins, who I just mentioned, like, is Tua the guy for them? And if he gets one more concussion, do they even bother sending him back out there on the field? There's other teams. The Raiders. Geno Smith isn't the long-term answer. The Seahawks, Sam Darnold isn't the long-term answer.
The Rams, maybe.
Matthew Stafford may not be able to play with a back injury. So it's like there's so many teams that could be looking to trade up. I think I was just looking at this. I'm like, there's so many quarterbacks with intrigue. Like, there's nobody who's runaway number 1 overall pick, but there's a lot of quarterbacks that could be intriguing to these teams. And if you've got almost a third of the league who needs a quarterback, you could just line up and say, give me your best offer, and the Titans can auction off the 4th overall pick or the 5th overall pick or whatever they end up getting.
Yeah, instead of this being a 4 or 5 year rebuild, you could get that down in maybe 2 years, maybe 2 or 3. If it was 2 years, man, a lot of people around here would be very, very happy.
I mean, that's the easiest way to set yourself up for success. I mean, you look at the Titans did almost the exact same thing 10 years ago. You take Marcus Mariota in 2015. It's hard to even project who ends up with the number 1 overall pick because as we saw last year, there's so much randomness.
Mm-hmm.
There were multiple teams who had a chance to just lose and they would back into the number 1 pick, but Drew Lock gets a win and Joe Milton gets a win and the Titans luck into that first overall pick to take Cam Ward. So there's no point in looking at where they're going to be, but based on this roster, you can expect they're going to be in a position where there's going to be one of those quarterbacks there that a team's going to want. And I think you can auction it off. Like, was Trey Lance worthy of the 3rd overall pick and trading 3 first-round picks as a prospect? Probably not. But teams just get so desperate, and you look at this market, and there are so many teams that could say, hey, this is a quote-unquote good quarterback class. We need to go get our guy. We'll give up whatever it takes. Titans could maybe get an extra first-round pick and a second pick this year, a first-round pick in 27, maybe another 3rd-round pick this year, and all of a sudden, that depth issue that we've talked about of, man, they just like all these picks have been busts. You get way more throws at the dartboard and you get an opportunity to jumpstart this roster rebuild that is desperately needed.
And also, too, let's not forget about the depth of this team. You look at, the lack of depth right now. You go and get a perennial corner in the first round, near the end of the first round. That could really catapult your defense. I mean, we talk about, making this window go from 4 to 5 years to 2 to 3 years. If you get a solid first round cornerback, I think you make it into a year, maybe 2.
Well, and we've talked about how there are so many premium positions where the Titans just don't have young talent. Like you could look at Jarvis Brownlee Jr. as a guy, but he was a day 3 pick. I don't know if you can count on him to be your number 1 corner moving forward.
Right.
Calvin Ridley, probably after this year, I would say has 1 more year where he's going to be your number 1 guy. And then even if he sticks around, he's not going to be your top line wide receiver. Edge rusher, there's nobody there except for maybe Femi. And you hope, but you don't know with a raw prospect like that. But let's say you get the 3rd overall pick this year. You can trade back to 10, pick up the 10th overall pick, another 2nd this year, and a first round pick the next year. Well, guess what? You now have 2 or 3 picks in the first 2 rounds with your own 2nd. So you could go edge rusher in the first round in the top 10, then go get a 2nd round wide receiver, a 2nd round corner, and boom, you've got young talent at 3 premier positions that you didn't have before, plus 2 first round picks next year. It's tough because you don't know what these young quarterbacks are going to do this year, but because there's so many of them that are in that conversation, I think you feel good that this will be viewed as a quote unquote good quarterback class. And that's when you can get those King's ransoms, like the Kenny Pickett year.
Oh, yeah.
No one was trying to trade up to the Jags or to the Lions who are picking 1st and 2nd and saying like, hey, we'll give you 2 firsts and 2 seconds to move up and take Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett. But this year, even if a couple of these guys, like let's say Drew Aller has a bad year or Lenora Sellers gets hurt, well, you still got a couple other guys who are going to be in that conversation. I'm looking at this and thinking, if the Titans want to fix this roster fast, that's the easiest way to do it. And I think there's going to be a market because you look around the league and there are so many teams that just don't have a franchise quarterback that they feel confident in.
Yeah. And if you look at the Titans defensively, like I already talked about cornerbacks, but you mentioned the edge rusher position, and it reminds me of Atlanta getting, James Pierce. I think that's the direction Titans got to look at. I mean, you want to be, everybody looks at the Bears, winning defense wins championships. I think that's what you got to build with the Titans because the Titans have prided themselves for the longest time on their run game. You kind of have to pride yourselves on the defense now. I mean, that's kind of where the direction lands because I said this on the weekend show probably, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. If I'm the Titans, next year's draft, go all defense because that's what you have to do. And I said at the beginning of the show, value your corners like quarterbacks, value your edge rushers like wide receivers, and your interiors like, your regular alignment.
I agree with you because I think you look at the offensive side of the ball, the one spot where you probably need to spend some premier capital is wide receiver.
Yeah.
But tight end isn't a premier position, and you hope Gunnar Helm can be a solution at least for the next few years there. Your offensive line, you've got 4 of those guys locked up for multiple years, and you hope Jackson Slater can be a part of the next version of this offensive line. Running backs are easy to find.
Yeah.
You got your quarterback. I agree. I think defense, like, you probably need to spend an early pick on a wide receiver, but you need depth on defense, and I think a lot of your draft picks probably need to go in that direction.
And if you can spend a first rounder on a corner, I would. And then maybe in the 3rd or 4th round, go grab another. That's just how I look at
You
it.
need depth.
Yeah. I
I
think
mean,
depth's where you're going to get in those 3rd, 4th round picks. And nonetheless, like, you look at Alec Iman, I know he's a wide receiver, but being one of those 3rd or 4th round picks and being a serviceable player at that point, you got to have that on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Just be a serviceable 3rd or 4th round pick.
Yep, you do need that. Like, Alec Iamaner is the exact type of guy of you hope he can be a number 2 wide receiver, but at worst, he's a depth piece. You need guys in the cornerback room like that, especially, I mean, L'Jarius Sneed back on the practice field today. That's the big news today. He passed a physical. He is off the PUP list, but I would probably be shocked if a year from now that if he's wearing a Titans uniform.
Yeah.
615-737-1025. Do you have thoughts on what is lining up to be a solid quarterback class with a lot of quarterback needy teams maybe playing right into the Titans' hands? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025. The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Monitoring the social media to see if there are any updates from Titans practice, which I believe is wrapping up in the next 30 minutes or so. L'Jarius Sneed back on the practice field today in a limited capacity as he has passed his physical and is off the PUP list. So we will give you updates when they come. Would expect we'll start to see some tweets about how things went today in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And again, Cam Ward expected to speak to the media just before the top of the hour. Not sure we're going to be able to bring any of that to you during this program. May leak into Chase and Big Joe if they want to air that press conference as well. We're getting into the conversation of the way next year's quarterback draft is shaping up. And a guy that we brought up, Nick, in the commercial break that we didn't even mention, like Cade Klubnik from Clemson is drawing a lot of praise heading into this season. He's another guy who could be in that conversation. So there you already have 5 guys that you can name off who have at least been discussed as first-round quarterbacks for next year. Maybe not all of them are going to end up being that guy. Maybe there are other guys that we don't know about yet quite as much that could enter that conversation. But it just leads to a quarterback-needy league is going to have options, and you just need one team to fall in love with a guy and need to get up to your spot to make them overpay and give you the necessary draft capital to rebuild this roster.
And I think another, wrench into all this, let's say Carson Beck has a good season at Miami. Like,
I mean, Carson Beck, I laugh at that because it's like he wasn't good at Georgia last year.
Right.
And I think the expectations have gone way downhill. But yeah, he was the preseason. He was the number 1 overall pick last year.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, throw the hat in the throw the name in the hat. Excuse me. That's something to keep your eyes open for.
Throw the hat in the name.
Yeah, hat in the name, whatever you want to call it, but it's just something to keep your eyes and ears open with.
Right. And you look back at last year, it was Carson Beck, Shedeur Sanders were kind of the 2 that everyone was talking about. Cam Ward came out of nowhere and ended up being your number 1 pick. So they're not out of nowhere. Obviously, he was a well-regarded transfer, but no one knew the year he was going to have and how he would make that impression on NFL scouts. There could be plenty of guys like that out there too. I'm looking through the league, and I said about a third of the league could be quarterback needy. I think it might be a half of the league. Yeah. Like I counted 15 teams that I feel like they feel like they have their quarterback for the next 5 years. They're the obvious ones. Some of the ones that I didn't count in there that may surprise you. I mentioned the Dolphins earlier. Like, I don't know if you feel confident Tua is your quarterback for any longer than the next year or two. I included the Jaguars in there. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is the guy. Some of the teams that may surprise you, the Cowboys. Like, how long do they let Dak Prescott continue to just be an above average quarterback in the NFL? I think he'd be perfectly fine in another market, but in Dallas, like, if you're not getting them back into the championship conversation, they're going to move on at some point.
Yeah, he's the James Franklin of the Dallas Cowboys. He gets them to a certain point, and that's it.
Right.
That's simply that.
And I think he's good. I made the point that, like, in another place, he might be considered like an all-time franchise great, but like in Dallas, getting to the playoffs and putting up 4,500 yards a year isn't enough. The Lions, like, that's a team, if they maybe take a step back this year, or if Jared Goff gets hurt, like, could you see them trading up? Their window in terms of the rest of that roster is just starting, but they need to find the next quarterback because I don't know if Goff's window is going to match up. Maybe that's a team that, let's say they underperform this year. They won what, 15 games last year? Let's say they win 10 this year. They sneak in as a wild card team. Maybe they move off Jared Goff and try and trade up in the draft, and you could get a haul from them. Like, those are the type of teams that maybe try and move up because they feel like their roster is Super Bowl ready, but they don't have that next quarterback ready to go. There's plenty of options, and that's why I'm just looking at this and I'm saying Titans are on the clock at 3, and let's say the Saints took Arch Manning and the Browns took Garrett Nussmeier. But Lenore Sellers is sitting there, and the Detroit Lions love Lenore Sellers. They come up from 17 or 19. 19-3, you could get 3 first-round picks and a cherry on top. Like, that is exactly what I think the Titans should be looking for this year. One player at the top of the draft isn't going to fix this team. Like, I know Clemson has a really good edge rusher. That guy isn't going to get you back into playoff contention, but maybe the second best edge rusher in the draft and 6 other picks in the top 100 over the next 2 years, that is what will get you back into playoff contention when the new stadium opens.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, throwing more darts at the dartboard. That's simply that. I mean, you mentioned the Lions. I honestly think the Jets will be in the conversation
Jets,
for a top
yeah,
pick.
for sure.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I don't know what they're going to talk about with Justin Fields there. Maybe they keep him, maybe they don't. But if I'm the Titans, you got to manipulate those big market teams because those big market teams need big market names.
With the fans hold them accountable, and it's like, man, if it doesn't work out this year, like the Cowboys could be a team that you could fleece. You could take advantage of Jerry Jones because I think he's kind of going off the deep end a little bit. And it's like, he probably wants to win a Super Bowl before. I mean, he's getting up there in age.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the type of teams that will overpay you to go get a guy they think is their quarterback, whether that's Sellers or Klubnik or Aller or Nussmeier, whoever it is. There's plenty of options out there, and there's going to be some desperate quarterback needy teams. Here's one for you. This one might hurt. Do the Cardinals commit to Kyler Murray for much longer?
Well, this does hurt me.
Nick Frazier is the biggest Kyler Murray fan out there.
Yeah, we short people got to stick together, man. That's a tough one. I mean, the logical answer is to move on because of his height, and also
because of his height. Is that's the main factor for you?
For me, yeah, that and interceptions. Thank you.
There you go. Air your grievances.
Thank you. Yeah, Kyler Murray probably going to move on and go play Call of Duty for the rest of his life.
I mean, that's probably what he wants to do. So he signed a 5-year, $230 million contract. He is he's only in year 2 of that, I think. Actually, the 5th year is a club option. So he will be the quarterback for at least the next 3 years, I think. 2 years. Yeah. There's an out after the 2026 season. You can't cut him next year. It would cost you $57 million in dead cap. No team's going to eat that. But you would only lose $7 million in dead cap if you got rid of him after the 2026 season. And you'd be able to trade him. Like, somebody will take a chance on Kyler Murray. But that's the type of teams I'm looking at is like, yeah, there's the obvious quarterback needed teams. The ones I named right off the top, the Saints, the Browns, the Colts, that they don't have an answer at quarterback long-term or even for next year, really. But there's so many teams that it's like, yeah, we kind of have a guy, but we'd like to get the next guy. And I think there's going to be a bidding war to get some of these quarterbacks in this next draft, even though I don't know if any of them are going to be like franchise changing guys, but that's the league we're in now is like the Falcons take Michael Penix at 8 because they fell in love with him. The Broncos took Bo Nix at 12 because they fell in love with him. You just need one team to fall in love with the guy who's sitting on the clock when you are picking, and you could get enough picks to build around Cam Ward and get this team back to where they want to be. I think that's what the Titans need to do. And I hate to say it because you want the team to win as many games as possible.
Right.
And for Cam Ward and for his development, you're not rooting for the team to lose. But this year losing, I think, would be very helpful for the Titans because you can do exactly what you did in 2015 and 2016, which led to you going to the playoffs 4 out of 5 years and making it to an AFC championship game, being the number 1 seed, trading an early pick and building up with those picks you get back, getting not your next Derrick Henry, but, players of that, Derrick Henry, Kevin Byard, even Corey Davis was part of that trade, and he was a productive player. You need those kinds of picks and that kind of draft capital to rebuild this team because there are so many holes and so little depth.
Yeah. I want to go back to the Arizona thing real quick. It is solely dictated off the wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. If he likes Kyler Murray's play or not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's simply that. And so after 2 years is over with, then Marvin will be like, yeah, I need somebody that is going to help me.
Yeah, not that Marvin Harrison was bad last year. He had a good rookie season. He was a little overshadowed by Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
But, right, if those guys don't turn into a pretty dynamic duo in year 2, maybe you start to find somebody who's going to be Marvin Harrison's running mate long term.
And Trey McBride was a serviceable tight end.
He's a good player. Yeah.
Didn't score a touchdown, though.
Did he not
I
score a
think-
touchdown all last year?
Yeah, I
Or
don't
maybe
think
like until late in the year?
No.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because I
Wow.
remember Kyler Murray posted something about that. We're gonna get him a touchdown. Never happened.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts on this, it's a big picture discussion heading into the year. And I hate talking about the draft before the season even started, but it started with seeing Joe Flacco and Daniel Jones being named the starting quarterbacks. And I'm just thinking like, man, there are so many teams that just have no answer at quarterback. You think you have yours, take advantage of them. As the owner for the Seahawks says in draft day, fleece them. That's what you need to do next year. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will get to your phones. Also, updates from Titans practice should be coming in the next few minutes. We'll let you know if anything notable happened out there in the Titans' final practice before preseason game number 3 against the Vikings on Friday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. 30 minutes left in the program. Next man up, Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Chasing Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour. They'll have all your reaction to Titans practice out there at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Chasing Big Joe up at the Circa Sportsbook in Kentucky. I believe DVD also. So it should be fun to see that. Looks like a great place up there in Kentucky. So, and I believe Connor, you going to be out there Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday. Parker Kelly and I will be out there.
For Weekend Huddle, make sure you tune in 9 to 11 ahead of Farmageddon. They'll lead you right into the first college football game of the year. We'll have updates from Titans training camp as they come out. I believe practice wrapping up in the next 10 minutes or so. Cam Ward is scheduled to speak in about 15. I think we can make the assumption it won't be 15. It'll probably be after the top of the hour. Going to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyUnderDog.com. Wes in Clarksville on our text line says, I'm stumped on why the Steelers didn't draft a quarterback. Going back to our conversation about all these quarterback needy teams, knowing they only had Rodgers for maybe 1 or 2 years at most, I'd hate to be a Steelers fan. And I had the same thought of when they came on the clock in the first round, Jackson Dart was still there. And obviously, Shedeur Sanders was still there. He was the one everybody was kind of thinking might go in that range. But I think the Steelers realized that they did that exact thing with Kenny Pickett of like, oh, here's a guy like a Jackson Dart who, yeah, he's not a top 5 quarterback, but he's a guy who's worth a flyer. They did that with Kenny Pickett, and it didn't work out. I think the Steelers have bought in completely on, all right, this year we're going to go all in, see if Aaron Rodgers can figure it out. But guess what? If Aaron Rodgers has lost a step and he sucks, we're fine sucking, and we'll pick in the top 10. We'll take our quarterback of the future next year.
Yeah, I was going to say, they also drafted Will Howard, did they not? Out of Ohio State.
You're right, they did.
Yeah, so they have their backup. I mean, they could learn under Rodgers. Like you said, but if Rodgers loses his head, then that's just throwing things out the door, and they go right back to the draft.
Is he their backup?
I believe so. I don't.
Oh, right. Mason Rudolph is there. I forgot.
There.
Titans legend Mason Rudolph went back to Pittsburgh. Will Howard is the 3rd string, and then they have Skylar Thompson too.
Oh boy.
So what a quarterback room for the Steelers. Right. Mason Rudolph is there. And Will Howard, I think if Aaron Rodgers got hurt, which at his age, we've seen it could happen. If he got hurt, I think you just hand it off and let Will Howard take the rest of the season. And guess what? You might lose every game, but you see what you got in a quarterback who, although he wasn't highly regarded by scouts, he just won the national championship. And if I would much rather see him out there if I'm a Steelers fan than Mason Rudolph again. So you give him a chance. Odds are you're picking in the top 5 and you can go find your next guy.
Or you could turn into Brock Purdy and get rid of him immediately. One of the two.
Right.
It's all fancy land, though. I'm just saying. But yeah.
It's a good thought from Weston Clarksville, though. Like, yeah, could they have used a quarterback, maybe somebody to learn under Aaron Rodgers, who you actually believe could be the next guy? But I also get it of like, if they didn't love Jackson Dart, don't take him. It's not like you're in a spot where
you're forced to take him.
You're desperate to take him.
Yeah.
Like they had they didn't have Aaron Rodgers at that point, but I think they knew pretty well that they were going to get him. Matthew in Nashville asked a question a little bit ago as we were talking about college football. Which coach is on the hot seat that you do not think is getting talked about enough going into Saturday? This is for college football. He said any conference. Do you have anyone that comes to mind, Nick?
I mean, my favorite team, Mississippi State. I think Jeff Levy's on the hot seat.
I think he's being talked about, though. Is there somebody out there who's like
not being talked
flying
about,
under the radar that like no one's really talking about getting fired, but could be?
Nothing really comes to mind. I'd have to kind of look throughout the nation for the most part, but
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule, really? I mean,
he's underperformed there.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And it's like he did bring in the 5-star quarterback, and it hasn't really worked out so far. Here's one that maybe he's being talked about a little bit, but I think has fallen out of the national spotlight. Lincoln Riley. I could see Lincoln Riley. They've got is it Jaden Maeva is their starting quarterback there?
Sounds right.
Like, if they don't, I'm not saying they have to be a playoff team. I don't think that's the expectations, but I think you have to show that you are going to be in that next tier of the Big Ten. I don't think anyone expects them to compete with Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State or Oregon. Like, I don't think they're there, but USC, the tradition of that program and the money you're paying Lincoln Riley, like, I think you expect him to be the 5th or 6th best team in the top 6 of the Big Ten every single year. And so far, since that first year of Caleb Williams, it hasn't really looked all that good. So I don't know. I think Lincoln Riley, if they go like 7-5 this year, I wouldn't be shocked if the Trojans make a move.
What about Kyle Whittingham at Utah?
I just don't know. Are the expectations that high at Utah?
I mean, they were a premier ranked program for a long time, and then they had horrible seasons.
I think if he can just keep them relevant, then I think he's got pretty much a lifetime contract. It's like
lifetime contracts are bad.
They are bad. You shouldn't do them. Yeah. But I agree with what you're saying though. Like he needs to get them back to relevancy, but we're only 3 or 4 years removed of them playing in the the Pac-12 championship in the Rose Bowl. So like, I think he's got a longer leash, but I do agree with you that, maybe he's a guy who leaks into that if they have a bad year.
I have one. You have to let it marinate for a season or so, but it's out there in South Carolina, Shane Beamer. I really do think after Lenore Sellers leaves, that team falls to shambles.
Yeah, Shane Beamer and Billy Napier, I would put in the same category of heading into last year, they were on the hot seat. If they had a bad year, they were gone. And they both kind of saved their jobs thanks to their talented young quarterbacks in Lenore Sellers and DJ Lagway. But it's like, you've got to build on that.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be a flash in the pan and you go back to being a 6-6 team. So I'm with you. Like Shane, if they bottom out this year and they are a little top heavy, I could see it. I think he probably gets 1 year more. Like I don't know if they'd fire him unless they go like 2-10, but I think he could easily go from comfortable to on the hot seat like that if they have an average year.
Now, let me throw this curveball at you. Would you put Josh Heupel in this category, say 2-3 years down the road? Say, obviously, this year you give him a little bit of grace, but say if they finish like 7-5, and then next year it's McIntyre's team, and they finish 7-5. I mean, is that where you start saying, "Oh, warm up the seat warmer here," or what?
Ben just texted basically that exact same thing on our text line. He says Heupel won't be gone, but if this transfer quarterback isn't any good and we don't have a legit quarterback behind him either, it could be entertained in the offseason. Heupel is not going to get fired after this year, 100%, because I think everybody understands the tough position that Nico Iamaleava put him in. Like that is even if they were bad this year, I don't think he would get fired. But you're right of like, if they're not good this year and then next year the young quarterbacks don't show promise, like if McIntyre isn't as good or if it's Merklinger, maybe he's not as good, or whoever you bring in, is it Faison Brandon, the guy coming in, maybe he got the start as a true freshman, wasn't very good. Like that's maybe when you have that conversation. But I think Heupel, with his performance and the circumstances for this year, I think he's earned himself at least some grace from everybody.
Definitely a 1 season of grace for sure.
3165 on our text line says, Brian Kelly, not sure if he's being talked about or not, but he's underperforming. Yeah, Brian Kelly, I think might be playoffs or bust this year. And we all put him in the playoffs. But
squeaking in, by the way.
That's just us and ChatGPT. But if Brian Kelly doesn't make the playoffs this year with an experience, like this would be the second time in 3 years that he's underperformed with a second-year experienced quarterback, because Jaden Daniels was about as experienced as you could be in the college football level. He played 2 years at Arizona State, 3 years at Arizona State, 2 years at LSU, and they went 9-3. With Nussmeier coming back for a second year, you got to make the playoffs in a 12-team playoff.
Yeah, and if you don't, bye-bye.
I agree.
Take your fake Southern accent.
You and your family are going to have to go somewhere else. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Last call for phones. The Titans wrapping up practice over there at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We are getting updates. We will give those to you and wrap up the show coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Final segment, Next Man Up 1025. The Game, Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Don't forget, Teron Davenport will be on with us for the full show tomorrow. He's been out at practice all week. He'll recap everything that went down, including the Cam Ward, Jeffrey Simmons scuffle. I know he's given his thoughts, but we'll give him an outlet to kind of go through what happened there and everything else leading into the final preseason game on Friday night inside Nissan Stadium against the Minnesota Vikings. I was about to say the Miami Vikings. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. We are getting Titans updates. Hear from Teron Davenport himself. Couple of injury updates. L'Jarius Sneed returned and did individual period. He was not part of the team periods. Not great news here. No sign of J.C. Latham, Calvin Ridley, Tavondre Sweat, Kevin Winston Jr. Think it's starting to get concerning for Sweat and Winston that it sounded like it was kind of minor stuff that they were out for, the tonsils for Sweat, and Winston was, just maintenance as he comes back from the ACL. But it's been a while since we've seen either of those guys, and likely we won't see either of them until at least week 1. So honestly, it'll be 2 weeks from today that we'll get our first injury report for the Titans leading into the Denver game. That's, I think, the next time we hear anything about Sweat, Winston. You would hope Ridley and Latham is just maintenance. I know Latham, it came out yesterday that said, just hip soreness or something like that. Nothing serious. So hopefully nothing there. You'd guess he might play on Friday. Ridley probably won't.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley, especially Brian Cowley mentioned yesterday at the end of his press conference, it was just soreness. They held him out yesterday for soreness. So maybe it's a continuation of that.
Yes. So, it was an unpadded practice. I would guess that they were probably being cautious with a lot of these guys. We'll see. But maybe a little bit concerning that Sweat and Winston still have not returned. Cam Ward, based on this from Teron Davenport, it seems like it was overall a pretty good day. And actually, we might be getting Cam Ward at the podium right now. I just got a notification. I'm wondering, maybe. We'll keep an eye on it for you. May not be able to bring you Cam Ward live here. And actually, we only have... he is up right now. I'm looking at him right now. We'll send it over to Cam Ward for a couple of minutes here.
Just continue to motivate my guys, continue to try to put points on the board every time we get opportunity, try to get another preseason win.
With Calvin off the field the last couple of days, has that given you maybe opportunity to look at some other guys a little bit more, like Van and Bryce? And,
Say the first part again?
With Calvin not practicing the last 2 days, does that give you a chance to maybe get some extra looks at some of the other guys?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it's more reps I get with those guys, Van, Chim, Alec, then Bryce as well. So I just think all of us, the Red being out right now, just helping us get a deeper relationship, just timing wise on routes that I probably haven't thrown them this whole training camp. So it's been good for us to get to work together. But I'm excited to get Red back out there as well.
Cam, in your extensive film study, how much time have you spent looking at first-year quarterbacks who were able to come in and have an impact early, whether it was Jaden last year or CJ the year before? Is that part of kind of the guys you watch, if at all?
I didn't really watch them. It's more of watching the defense they play, how they played a rookie quarterback, what type of pressures they did. Because I really don't have enough time to be watching a lot of other quarterbacks. I gotta pick up on defenses and stuff. But though Jaden he had a great year last year. I just watching the defense that played him, how they would try to stop his playmaking ability, and then also him winning from the pocket. And I think it was good for him though.
So along those lines, how beneficial is it when Denard is throwing the house at you in terms of different, pressures or packages, changing things up post snap for you?
It's good because especially the preseason games, I felt prepared. Especially from a protection and a blitz standpoint, I seen everything since I got here after the draft. And so I gotten better at it every day, learning protection, learning the trump calls to get to. And then also just adjusting my receiver zone, routes that I want them to run.
It's your first cut down day. How are you handling it? And have you talked to Restrepo about how to handle this weekend at all?
Really just gotta take advantage of every opportunity. That's for myself too. Yeah, Bash. That's for myself taking every opportunity I get a chance to get on the field. Then like everybody's job is not there. I have to work for mine every day. You see quarterbacks in and out of the league. So I think the biggest thing is that no matter who's at cut, they just got to be consistent throughout the whole process.
How close would you say you are to getting to like the 300 level of this offense, the understanding of everything going on?
I think I'm real close. I think I understand everything in the offense. I think it's more of repping every play more. And that's why I'm excited to, get into the game planning, because now I'm repping every play that we're going to run the game even more. So I think just when game time come, I'll be dialed into everything: scheme, protection, route adjustments, certain things post snap that I have to look at when I'm reading the defense. So I think game time, I'll be ready to play ball.
Speaking of game time, like have you gotten to the point where you could sit with Hardegree and Holtz and Callahan and, hey, I want this up this week, I don't want this, etc.?
Yeah, it's been like that since day one. Not really out here in practice because we're trying to get reps out, but as soon as we started first preseason game, they've always took, my input, give me feedback. I always take their input and get feedback from them. And us three, including Nick, we all just want to be in the best situation, make sure we all successful.
What's been your focus on footwork, Cameron? I know Nick Holtz talked about a little bit today about the footwork and maybe seeing some changes there. What are you trying to focus on from that respect?
Just staying, I would say, ready to throw, not get hoppy in the pocket. And I just think having a base with me the whole time. I was a big overstrider early, in my college career. I slimmed that down some. They also just, staying what my quarterback coach Daryl's helped me get to this point, staying with it.
When you look at your journey and what you've gone through, do you see yourself as an inspiration to guys who aren't necessarily being recruited out of high school that turn into what you've done?
I guess you could say that. I've never thought of myself that way because at the end of the day, I just play football. And so I just like what I do. I think I'm a pretty good football player. I want to be a great football player, but I think it just comes down to, working out, working hard, and then also having a mindset to not really care for what your friends have, what your peers have, just offer-wise, what college is looking at them. It's all, at the end of the day, it's all about, where you want to get in life.
Nick said today about earlier about you texting him at 9:30 at night, you texting him early in the morning. What are those text chains like with him, Bo, Brian? What are you guys discussing? How rapid fire is it?
Really bit of everything. If I don't have an understanding of a play, or if it's something that on film that I like versus the opponent, I want to get in the game plan. So it's really about everything. They text me, what I need to get better at from whether it's today or in the past. So it's really everything. It text about everything, life, everything.
Nick said some of your technical issues come when you don't drive. Some of that's particularly the high and wide throws. How difficult is it maybe to get out of that habit? What happens that maybe prompts you not to take a step?
I'll say if I really want to drive the football down the field, I think that's when I tend to overstride more. And then it's just something that you can't fix over a year. I've been doing it since I first played the football, but every year it's gotten better and better. So I think by the end of my time when I'm done, I think technically wise, I'll be up there.
When you come into a situation.
That was Cam Ward post-practice over at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Seems like it was a good day, according to Teron Davenport's practice notes. So Chase and Big Joe will react to practice today, what Cam Ward had to say. Last note here. According to Parker Kelly, friend of the program, L'Jarius Sneed says he's very confident he'll be available for week 1 at Denver. So back in practice, thinks he'll be ready for week 1. That does it for us. For Nick Frazier, for Connor Newt, I'm Jake Lyman signing off. Tomorrow, Teron Davenport on with us for all 3 hours. Jason Big Joe coming up next. You're on 102.5 The Game.